What is up? It's Andy. I hope your weekend is going well. And you know who's going to be happy? The guy who despises when I even talk about anything that's not sports related for more than about 11 seconds, because there is a lot that I got to go through today. And the more time that I waste talking about nonsense is the less time I can spend giving you some sniffs. Now, on certain nights, I've told you this many times, when it's one of those primetime games, like I don't really like this game, that's usually when I start going the nonsense route. But when you show me that full Sunday slate, I can usually find some things in there that I think will provide opportunities. Like, you remember my guy, the Chalker-Roach, Kyron Williams, had a bunch of notifications from people last week. Andy, thank you for that Kyron bet. I know that guy better than anyone, which is why I like the under on him this week. I'll start you with a quick pick right there. The under on Kyron Williams rushing. He could still be utilized a ton as a receiver, but the way he plays against that line, that's going to be some tough sledding. You end the last video with the Chalker-Roach, and we start this video with the Chalker-Roach. If you want to know what that expression is, it comes from my DFS show called Look Who's Chalking, which you should definitely check out. So I actually realized in these last couple of weeks, I never really give out spreads. I never tell you who I like in games, and I always forget that that's kind of what people enjoy the most. So there are one or two that I kind of like this week, but not as much as those player props. I obviously like to isolate players, and because you guys are a bunch of pirates for the most part, I know there are regular guys out there, and I will give you the regular guy picks. I'll give you the pirate parlays and everything in between. But the first game I'm going to look at is this Denver-Houston game. Now, Denver obviously is running hot right now, and you can make the argument, yeah, but I mean, they played the Browns and then they played Minnesota. Yeah, but they also played like the Bills and the Chiefs before that. So the way they've won these games has varied. I will say this is one of the few times I'm with every idiot in your local town, because I did see that like 78% of people are on the Broncos. I actually will take the Broncos if I can just bump it up. Hockey video people know what that means, to plus 3.5, but that's not my favorite pick on the game. My favorite pick for the regulars out there, you know, I started like I think last week with Calvin Ridley, regular guy. You're going to enjoy this. My regular guy pick for just a very low total would be Jerry Jeudy, one of the two wide receivers who's had an extremely lackluster year. But this Houston pass defense, calling it burnable would be an understatement. And we get the gift of their good run defense. Nothing's better than that mix. A good run defense to stop Javonte and whatever the running game has to offer, and an awful pass defense who's just hemorrhaging yards to everybody, an indoor environment, an offensive-minded coach in Sean Payton, who, yes, they prefer to run the ball, but that is, you play Buffalo, you play Kansas City, there's no need to try to outscore them throwing the ball. In a game like this, where you should throw the ball, as everyone has against this Houston team, I like the over on Jerry Jeudy receiving yards. People will probably say, man, he hasn't had a huge game all year. I'm going to take a little solace in the fact that they tried featuring him 2 weeks ago. If you look at his targets, and he just missed having a big game by a few yards, it is absolutely still there. It is a capability. Dulcich still ain't there. There's two guys catching passes against an awful pass defense. I'm going to go with the over on a total that's as low as Jeudy's. If Sutton was in the 40s and Jeudy was around 60, I'd flip it. But you show me 47 or some 49, I will show you a good time. Give me the over on Jerry Jeudy receiving. Something that I've been tinkering with. I kind of just stumbled into this right before I made the video. If you take that plus 3.5 Broncos with the over on Jerry Jeudy receiving, and then I know this is wild, and I know people have been seeing Singletary utilized a lot, but if you look at the rushing last week, the attempts, half went to Pierce, half went to Singletary. What do we know about this Broncos defense? What did we cash in last week on this Broncos defense? Jerome Ford on the ground. Well, you have Singletary, who's played great in Pierce's absence, but Pierce had his first game back last week. This will be his second game. Look at his total. Against that awful run defense, I got to take the over. Now, the offensive line of Houston has progressively been getting healthier as the season has gone on. They started the year with a grand total of 0 healthy offensive linemen. They've been able to get some of those back. It's been improving slightly. You saw what Singletary did in those previous weeks when he had the backfield to himself. Pierce is a pretty good runner. He breaks a lot of tackles. That's a great mix. What a sneaky play this could be. You might even want to think about 50 plus, but in that same game parlay, plus 3.5 for Broncos, over Judy receiving, and then the over on rushing for Dameon Pierce. I like that same gamer. Another game that I'm going to look at as far as the spreads is the New Orleans Lions game. This time, I'm not betting with the idiots and everyone's betting the Lions, and I just want to ask you why. The Lions these last couple of weeks, what have we seen? They got essentially waxed by Green Bay in their own building on Thanksgiving. Then before that, was that when they had to fight to the bitter end to beat, Chicago on their own home field? This is a team that's struggling. Goff has lost a little bit of confidence. You know what I call Derek Carr. He's the loser. Maybe he will lose by 1, 2, or 3, but I'm taking them to cover that 4-point spread at home. And I know you're cursing at this screen, but Detroit, they're living not on a prayer, but they're living on that reputation for a stretch that has existed in between when they started last year with awful defense and right now these last couple of weeks, actually going back like 5 weeks now that they've had awful defense. So I'm going to bet that if they win, it's going to stay under 4 points. Give me the New Orleans Saints. Now let's go to Pittsburgh, where you're going to have your little rally. What is it called? The terrible towel. Is that what it's called? A terrible towel? That can't be the name. That's a terrible name for a towel. It's the Terrible Towels. I don't remember if that's the name. I think that is the name. However, what's not terrible about them are the numbers that we have listed on these props. Remember last week when I just slapped them all up there and I said they fired Matt Canada, and look at the totals we're getting. These totals, for me, I wanted to go over on all of them because it was predicated not so much on the offense being that much better, but on the defense being able to get the ball back so many times. And you saw Najee go for essentially 100 yards. Jalen Warren underperformed because he had that early fumble. But look who they're playing. They're playing Arizona. And look what the Chalker-Roach, my guy Kyron Williams, did to them last week. In a home game in LA, now this is a home game in what should be a pretty cold day in Pittsburgh. You gotta imagine they're going to get many opportunities to run that ball. It's one of the most vulnerable, if not the most vulnerable run defense in the league. I want the over on Najee Harris, which is, they bumped it up like 8-9 yards, but I think because they're factoring in the Cardinals and how bad they are. And for Jalen Warren, I'm going to go a different route. I'll go over 100 total yards, which is going to put you in major plus money. And I can't hate on you. Look at the receivers again. High 40s, whatever. I'm over. Like last week, I'm going to say 3 out of the 5 are going to hit. What's the 5th one? I don't know. Make it between either Freiermuth receiving or Jalen Warren receiving. But it's just like they went for 400 yards on offense. 400 total yards. This Pittsburgh team who supposedly couldn't do that at all. In case it was true that Matt Canada was the anchor, I'm going to try to take advantage of these low totals. So give me the over across the board on Pittsburgh. It pretty much worked last week, and I'm hoping that it works again. Now, another game, everyone in this game from a DFS perspective is focused on Zach Moss, right? Zach Moss is going to be getting all the work because Jonathan Taylor, he has the highest rushing projection on the day. If you go to the player props, the highest rushing total belongs to Zach Moss, which means I'm taking the under because they're going to Tennessee. Tennessee doesn't have the run defense that everybody goes nuts about and is scared of yesteryear, but it's still not that bad. And I'm going the flip-flop route in this game. I'm going over on Henry's, that one cashed for us last week, and under on Zach Moss's just because it's so high of a number, he could even have a pretty good day and not cash. And that's always my telltale sign to take an under, especially when Tennessee is extremely vulnerable through the air. And we know how good Michael Pittman and the connection that Gardner Minshew has with Josh Downs. So I don't think they're going to need to keep handing the ball off. And I know you're going to point to, but look, when they played Tennessee earlier in the year, he absolutely went off. Yeah, that was a different part of the year, and it was at home. This is different. On the road, outdoors, Tennessee. I'm not just going to assume that Moss is going to go back to immediately playing that stretch of his career where he played as well as anybody could play. I will take the under on Moss and the over on Henry. So many games on this dang slate. I guess I have to talk about the Eagles game, right? You guys want to know, is it a Debo week? Is it an Ayuk week? Is it an A.J. Brown week? I don't know. But if you're giving me 3 points with the Eagles, you know what I'm going to do? I want to just kind of smack that up to plus 3.5 and potentially combine it with something. And in this game, my gut is telling me you can put these to, I didn't even make this video, but I'm just truly telling you how I feel right now as I'm saying this to you. Plus 3.5 for Eagles, a rushing or whatever, anytime touchdown for Deebo Samuel, the over on receiving yards for Christian McCaffrey, and once again, they've went low on Devontae Smith's number, but they do have Dallas Goedert back this week, so I may want to chill on that front because now there will just be a slightly different target distribution. But those 3 I like. If you want to wrinkle those together, that's not my absolute favorite one. But if you guys want a true Pirates parlay to end your day, you can do this one over on Caesars, where your first bet over there is going to be risk-free up to $1,000 as long as you're a new user over there, over 21, and located in a state where sports betting is permitted. As I always like to mention, if you or anybody you know has a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. So now the mega same-game parlay of the day on Caesars. I'm going Jerry Jeudy, 75-plus alt receiving yards because of how vulnerable that Houston pass defense is. Then I'm going Breece Hall, 20-plus yards, longest rush. It's been a couple of weeks since he busted one. I think this is going to be the week. I could have went to 30, but I kept it at 20 because I think that he's got one of those in him. I just don't want to push my luck with 30. And then Najee Harris, 75-plus alt rushing yards. You put those 3 together, that's a plus 3,000 same game parlay. Plus 3,000 parlay on a Sunday, week 13. Good luck to you. Best luck to me. Make sure you're subscribed here to the Odd Shopper channel. Follow me on social media, would mean a lot to me. Like and comment on this video. Check out all the other stuff we do here, all the other great content made available to you by the kind people at Odd Shopper. I will see you guys tomorrow for Monday Night Football. Take it easy and good luck.